You're listening to Our Two Satoshis podcast with hosts Justin and Billy from CryptoBiz.com.
Let's actually talk about some crypto stuff, Billy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's do it, man. There is so much to cover. It's like making my head spin, thinking about all the things that are happening, like second by second, minute by minute. The struggle is real. Trying to filter everything.
Oh, yeah. Just trying to fit it into a 30-minute podcast will be crazy. But we'll just try and touch on all these little things and not go too deep into them.
Yeah, I mean, like as we were talking before this, like shit was popping off with Robinhood, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do right now.
So what's up with Robinhood?
Yeah, while we're on that topic, yes, I was going to say that they just launched trading for residents in Colorado. For anybody that wants to trade crypto, right now it's just Bitcoin and Ethereum. But if you live in Colorado, you're all good now to use Robinhood. No fees, which is badass. And so as I was talking about that with you, they just launched Mississippi as well. So they're cranking it out. I'm still waiting for us in the good old Virginia, but you lucky mofos in Mississippi and Colorado, good on you.
That's awesome. We were using Robinhood in the past with doing stock trading, and the issue with it was that, when you sold, you didn't get your money back for like 3 days or whatever. But do you know how that works with the crypto? Is the crypto immediate transactions or what?
Man, that's a really good question. Because I haven't used Robinhood in so long that I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, that was the issue before, and I would say, it's great having the the zero fee trading, but if you don't get your funds back for a couple of days, then that could be a definite problem.
That means you're a swing trader. Oh, show. But yeah, that's actually, I want to kind of touch on something else too, like, so the whole like feeless trading is really awesome, and that's kind of been not really an issue, but something to think about when I'm doing this scalping, because I'm aiming for a 3% scalp every time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the reality of it is it's more like a 2.5% scalp because of the fees for the buy and then the sell. And then, of course, if you have a down day like we did the other day, shit adds up. So I'm trying to find that edge. So right now we're kind of playing around with doing more than one scalp per day.
So actually, break that down for me, because I've been doing the scalping along with you, but not the exact tokens that you've been doing. So just explain to me, like when you go to TradingView, to their cryptocurrency signaler, like how do you filter that out? So you filter that out based on, I know two things. One is the buy rating. You do strong buys, and then you only trade on Bittrex, so you change the exchange to Bittrex. Do you do any other filters on that?
Yeah, so this is something new because of, so a little bit of a backstory real quick. So we're doing pretty well, right? So we had about 75-80% success rate up until last day or so, where XRP just kicked us in the nuts, dropped like 10%. So basically because of that, and because of the fees that are associated with the buys and the sells, I wanted to start poking around with the idea of doing more than one scalp per day. So because of all of that, I actually started looking at the 5-minute. So if you're on TradingView, you can actually, so you put your strong buy rating, you put in your Bittrex exchange filter, but then right above that, there's a time interval. That's going to give you, a 5-minute option, 15-minute, 1 hour, etc. And so what I started doing is looking at the 5-minute interval. So I'm looking at the shortest span possible, which essentially means I want to get in and get out as fast as possible. So I really want to do find the best picks for a day trader, at the smallest window. So that's something new I've been playing around with, and I mean, it seems to be working, but it's also only been like a day and a half. So,
are you actually realizing the gains quicker? Are you hitting that sell order faster?
Yeah. So yesterday we actually did have that sell order went through within, I think it was like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. which compared to previously, it was in most cases almost 24 hours. Like most of the time, it wasn't selling until either late in the evening or early in the morning before I, pick that next trade. So I mean, it's a little bit too early to tell, but it's kind of a new tactic that I'm working with. I mean, it's still a process, right? Like, still playing around with this thing.
So, I mean, the one thing that I was thinking about the other day was, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, where everything was in the red, but Bitcoin was moving up. That's what usually happens. Things are in the red when Bitcoin's making its march. So, in that day, it would be really hard to even hit that 3% scalp. You'd have to really select wisely to do that. So kind of one of the first things that I've kind of determined, and we haven't even really talked about this, but my first thing that I'm going to do is I want to look at just Bittrex as a whole at that time and see what the market looks like. If the market's in the red, then I don't even know if I'm going to try and make a scalp play. Yes, you could hit one and get the 3%, but maybe that's just a day where you kind of ride the pine and sit it out and let it kind of roll on its own and take that one as instead of taking a loss.
I think that's actually a really good call out, because that reminds me of a lot of what I remember seeing back on like things like StockTwits and these, like back when I was doing more actual stock trading. That's kind of one of the pointers a lot of guys made, was you kind of base it on what the S&P was doing. If the broader market was down, you take that day off. You go play golf, you go drink, do something else. Because chances are it's not going to work out for you. And it's all about being a sniper, right? You don't have a machine gun spraying everything down. You're in one spot for hours, days, waiting for that one target to happen and get right in front of your eyesight. And once it does, you pull the trigger. And that's what we're doing. So I think that's a great call out. And the other day when the market was down, particularly on Bittrex, I actually had a winning trade that day. And I don't remember off the top of my head what it was, but it was like one of like 4 things that was green.
Yeah, so you really got to catch the right ride with that.
I know I got lucky on that one, but
yeah,
I was definitely looking at some things to keep in mind is I'm looking at volume. Like, so for me, like the bare minimum, if I can help it, if it's available, is at least 100 Bitcoin. So volume, and then I'm also looking at the chart as well, just for visual cues to see if I see any patterns emerging.
So we're molding this process as we've kind of been doing it ourselves and kind of learning along the way. So of what works best. So yeah, I would say if the market's down for that day, maybe you should just sit on the sidelines, wait it out, come into it the next day, and look at all if you come in the next day, things are looking green, go to trading view, look at that, go through the filters like we just mentioned there, find a token that's trading and kind of make your pitch. Because the problem with this, and this is where you got hit the other day when you realized a decent loss on one, was that when you buy this, what we're doing is we're buying these tokens and then we're setting it 3% up, a sell order from there. Well, if that coin drops 10%, 20%, whatever, you don't have a limit sell in at that point to kind of cover your ass, because you can't put a limit sell in and at the same time.
Exactly.
So that's the problem.
Yeah, and that reminded me of this. There's like a quote that kind of encapsulates everything you just said. The trend is your friend. If it's a green market, jump in. If it's red, it's like, green means go, red means stop. Anyways, enough about that jazz.
Yeah, so let's talk about, like, you were you mentioned there when Ripple took like a 10% loss. Well, looks like Ripple had a flash crash yesterday as well.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, it sounds like it was as the Western world, the U.S., as one piece of the Western world was going to sleep, and as the Easterners were getting up, kind of in that middle area is when the market volume is the thinnest. And so that's when a lot of these flash crashes happen. This isn't just crypto, it's also traditional securities. So back in October 2016, the British pound had a flash crash during the same time period. So basically, long story short, Ripple had this flash crash where it went from 80 cents down to, on some platforms, 49 cents within a matter of minutes, and then came back. So, there's some things you can't help.
That's just somebody, some large sell orders,
Yeah, whales.
Yeah.
Whales, as they call them.
Yeah.
There's just some things you can't help, especially if you're doing what we're doing with the scalping, where you don't have that safety net. So it's something to be aware of for sure.
But on the flip side, if you look at the scalping, like, okay, yeah, during that flash crash, let's say you did have a position in Ripple at that point. Yeah, it's going to drop down, but then it came back up. That's the thing that people out there need to realize. Just because something has dropped off the map a bit and you're looking at your portfolio saying, shit, I lost this much money or whatever. You haven't realized that loss until you actually sell.
Exactly.
It's like, hold through it sometimes, or the majority of the time. Yeah.
You can control your emotions, you're good. Like for me, like in my own experience, that's been the hardest thing to wrangle, and that's taken years. Like I've been doing trading in some form or another since college, since like 2009, 2010. And that's been the biggest thing, and I like to think that I've actually tamed it, and I think I have for the most part, but it's hard to do.
Well, that's what I love so much about this scalping, because what I do, I don't read the charts as much as you do, or keep it in front of me as much as you do. So what I love about scalping is that instead of me, placing an order and then sitting there and watching the token and watching until it reaches a certain point, to make a sell, and it's dropping here and there and going up, going down, whatever, the fluctuation, the volatility in it. I love scalping because I'll place my order and then I'll put that 3% sell order in there, and then I don't even look at it. Yeah, exactly. I go about my business, do my own thing, whatever. Now,
like
granted, that could kill me, if it did, drop way off, but usually the positions that I'm getting into are tokens that are pretty stable around their price point that they're currently at.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has, unless you're actually like a professional day trader and your job is to look at the screen, and that's the only thing you have to do, then yeah, that's fine if you're going to sit there and stare at charts all day, but that'll drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who has time for that?
Mm-hmm.
But one little thing I want to add to this though is, you've kind of been holding your position, so you're kind of doing more of a swing trade. You're waiting for it to actually fill no matter what. Me, I'm kind of being an idiot and basically just doing, if it doesn't sell within that 24-hour period, whatever, I'm just going to, restart that cycle, which I'm still kind of playing around with. Maybe I'll go back to the more of what you're doing. Because what I've realized and noticed is a lot of these positions that I've started and didn't get, they ended up going up like 20%, like the day after I sold.
Well, that's how it always happens.
Yeah. So it's like, that buy rating that I've been basing it on is still true. I'm just selling prematurely because it didn't happen in my 24-hour window.
Well, and the problem with that is, even if you sell it for right around the price that you bought it for, you're realizing the loss at that point with the fees that you paid. I mean, that's essentially like a 0.5% to 1% loss. So, but the biggest news that I saw this week that I thought was awesome was, I mean, it's not really news. It probably won't happen for a while per se, but was the Nasdaq CEO coming out and saying that that they definitely see Nasdaq taking on becoming a cryptocurrency exchange in the future.
Yeah, dude, I mean, it's like, it's about time you guys come around. Like, they aren't stupid. It's like, I mean, so on that same thing, this is something that just happened. Let me see if I can get this right. So the Canadian Securities Exchange actually just announced that they're building a clearing and settlement platform for security tokens. They can be essentially traded on their exchange. So it's more or less what Nasdaq is saying they're going to do in the future, but Canada's saying, yeah, we're going to do that now.
That's awesome. That's the movement that we need. I mean, reviewing in the same kind of information about Nasdaq, Goldman Sachs recently hired a crypto trader.
Uh-huh.
Barclays is looking at adding a crypto trading desk. It's stated, and this is from Forbes, stated that 56 finance firms are said to be waiting to enter the crypto markets by the end of the third quarter of this year.
Insane, dude.
And then with the whole talk about Nasdaq, though, their pushback on not doing it sooner is because, they want the regulators to come in. They want all of that, all the rules to be established and everything. But
Exactly.
like the CEO of Reality Shares he said, I think it's going to happen sooner than later. He said, investors are going to invest in cryptocurrency and just follow the standard rules. The current security laws are not that hard to follow. Don't commit fraud. Treat investing like you would any municipal bond or security for that matter, because that's what cryptocurrencies are becoming. So if you get more people with that mindset of, there are already these rules out here for like trading securities, trading stocks, etc. Let's just follow those same rules, because those same rules are probably going to be the ones that govern cryptocurrency trading as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the big takeaway for me is the name recognition for everybody that's still weary about crypto. Seeing these big names like Nasdaq saying that they're going to participate sooner than later. If I was the layperson, still not really sure what the hell's going on in the crypto world. I've heard of Bitcoin, and I'm kind of interested in dipping my toes in the water. If I was seeing Nasdaq saying, yeah, they're going to participate in this, my confidence is going to skyrocket.
You know what the first thing I think of when I hear this shit?
What's that?
All those assholes you see on Facebook or wherever that comment on crypto posts like, oh yeah, tulips of the 1200s. Oh yeah,
Dude.
How are those beanie babies working out for you? Like,
yeah, dude, I want to pull a Gary V and just like screenshot every MFer that has a negative comment to say. And then once NASDAQ jumps in and be like, hey, so-and-so, fuck off.
Dude, the thing that I want to do is put them in a room and just do that half-baked scene where he quits his job. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Exactly.
You're Dude, cool, I'm out.
Well, the best part about it is we know that's going to happen.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's like these people that, like, the fucking people, excuse my language right now, but this just...
dropping F-bombs like it's
I know. But these people that talk about the tulips and the beanie babies and stuff, they're like the people that are still writing checks. Like, the people that are still like, checks are never going to go away. This is going to... Get out of here, dude. Like...
Yeah. Yeah, you are so far behind, you don't even realize it.
When you have Amazon Web Services, which was announced in the last week or two, that you can now integrate, blockchain into their platform, like
they're providing blockchain templates. You can just go in and be like, yeah, I want to create like an Ethereum blockchain. Boom, done.
They're the second largest company in the world, right behind Exxon. And they're messing with it. Like Walmart is doing stuff with blockchain now. I understand the skepticism behind this, and yes, there are a lot of kinks and things that need to be worked out with it. But if you don't believe that this is a technology that's gonna change change what we know of today with technology, I can't even get my words together for this, but it's crazy. You're crazy.
You can't save them all.
No.
There's only so much room on the boat.
Well, it's like you said one time. I mentioned to you about like those crazy people on Facebook and stuff, and you were like, I was like, I want to just say something to them, but as you mentioned, you're like, I don't need to convince these people. I don't need to.
It's like it's more for me, man. Like,
exactly.
Whatever. I'm not losing any sleep over it.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get my parents to jump in.
One of the coolest things that I saw this week, outside of your parents, one of the coolest things I saw this week when it was the tweet. You actually retweeted it, but it was from Blockchain Dan. So someone transferred $99 million in Litecoin.
Yeah.
It cost them 40 cents in fees, and how many seconds? It was 150 seconds for it to clear.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
when have you ever been able to transfer? Well, I've never had $99 million, but
Yeah.
when have you ever been able to transfer funds even close to that amount in that amount of time for that cheap?
Yeah, if you want a case study as to why crypto is going to be big, that's it.
Yeah, that's all that right there. I mean, that doesn't even uh, talk about, or doesn't even include all the other game-changing things that crypto is doing. But just that right there is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and people talk about how expensive it is to move money and how slow it is and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's like, oh, there you go. Because they're basing everything on Bitcoin, where Bitcoin currently is. That's like one of my big pet peeves is people are so short-sighted about what this is going to be. But they're only focused on where this technology is in this given moment in time. But if that was the case for, Amazon or any technology, nobody would invest in anything.
Amazon was selling books when they started. Yeah.
Amazon was by some porn shop when they first started, in the worst part of Seattle, working on doors as desks.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos had a door as a desk.
Yeah, because
sitting on cinder blocks or something.
Yeah, because their whole thing was we don't care about the short term. It's all about that long vision. We're going to do the best for our investors. It was just short-sightedness.
Well, and kind of along those same lines of the transferring money. Wow, Freudian slip there. Yeah, transferring funny. That's what this stuff is, funny money. But no, transferring money. It also came out, it was released earlier that the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis actually published a report and said that fiat is inefficient, expensive, facilitates crime, and limits the bank's ability to use negative nominal interest rates.
It's what?
Okay, so
hold on, what the hell just happened?
Now a central bank is saying fiat is basically a pain in the ass to use and causes all these other issues.
Yeah, it's hey, our product that we've had for the past couple hundred years, it's not good anymore.
It's going to come a time, man. The Fed is going to start issuing digital currency. There has to be a point in time in the nearer rather than far future out there that Bitcoin's going to do that or the Fed is going to do that. It only makes sense. Think about how much money it costs just to print a dollar. The
writing is on the wall, man.
Well, and that's honestly, I think one of the problems that that I've seen a lot of banks or a lot of if you could actually see the video on our podcast right now, Billy's gargantuan cat keeps walking across the screen on top of his desk.
He's been itching to get into this office for hours today. I have a baby gate up, so I'm not interrupted by him torpedoing my desk. And so he's been trying to rip through the baby gate for hours on end today. And so I have the gate down now because it's after hours for my day job. And here's this 25-pound Norwegian forest cat just plowing into my desk.
Kind of fun.
And now trying to bite me. So anyways.
No, so what I was saying was talking about the creation of going to a digital currency and how much it costs to actually print regular fiat regular dollars. Well, I know we've talked about masternodes, on a lot of our podcasts in the last couple weeks, couple months, whatever. I don't really want to dive too much into masternodes or anything here, but there's been a lot of pushback on crypto about how much energy it takes to actually mine Bitcoin and other currencies. And there's actually been local governments that have pushed back on miners saying you can't do this here because of the energy output. Well, there's actually a push to be that masternodes will become the new miners. And there will no longer be a need for miners because masternodes, you're keeping a copy of the blockchain. You also are setting aside, these tokens that aren't going to be utilized or that you're saying aren't going to be utilized for a specific time frame for that masternode to run. And with that being the case, then it's going to go to, proof of stake rather than proof of work like, miners are. And that's going to eliminate that energy output there. So
and that centralization of mining farms as well.
Exactly. So that's where I think, like the Fed and other banks and countries and stuff might start moving more into crypto when it becomes so much cheaper to produce than it does to produce normal currency. I don't know. This is just my opinion, but that's why this is freaking Our Two Satoshis, because it's our
Right.
opinion on this. So don't
It's
take what I
R2,
said to the bank.
2 Satoshis, not 3, not 4.
Exactly.
No, I think that's a good point. Like, because I mean, at the end of the day, much of the world is based on capitalism, and so what's happening here is here's this new technology that's going to save you money and help you make money quicker.
Mhm.
Like I know it's not always that simple, but those are a lot of, those are kind of the big themes.
Well, the other thing is the security aspect of it,
Yeah.
counterfeiting the money, the fake currency. I would say actually, the country that might get hit the hardest by this would probably be here in the U.S. because so many countries actually use the U.S. dollar as their currency. That's what's traded the most. So if that knocks dollar from being the number one traded currency worldwide, at some point, this is going to be probably a decade or more away before something like that happens. But yeah, it could cause issues on the landscape here in the U.S.
It's going to be crazy to watch. Like, I mean, like crypto has taken over traditional finance, what seems like every direction. Like, I came across this thing about, Germany's biggest bank, Deutsche. That's me being fancy. Uh, so, I think everybody's familiar with Binance. It's the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchange. And then Deutsche is Germany's biggest bank. So just for some perspective here, how big crypto is getting. So Deutsche's recorded profit for 2018.
2017? Is it 2018 or 2017?
What I'm saying is, it says this year in the first quarter of 2018.
Oh, the first quarter. Okay.
Yeah. Deutsche recorded a profit of 146 million. On the other hand, Binance recorded a profit of 200 million. So it's like this fringe technology, which it still is fringe, is destroying traditional finance. Like I can't even fathom where we're going to be in 5 years.
That is crazy. I mean, my first thought on that is that's crazy. My second thought is what the hell are we doing a podcast for? Why don't we build an exchange? Like with that kind of money coming in, Jesus.
I know.
$200 million. That's just in like trading fees.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy. One that we haven't actually talked about in a while, but that is really interesting is Power Ledger. So did you see what this was actually 2 days ago, but what they announced?
You know what? I came across that the other day, but I can't remember the exact headline or specifics. It was a partnership, right? Pretty big.
Yeah, so Power Ledger just announced a partnership. It's a trial, but with Japan's second largest electricity utility company, Kansai Electric Power Company. So they're going to do a trial where it's peer-to-peer renewable energy and trading in Japan. So that's pretty cool, man. I mean, Power Ledger's making moves. That was Australia. If you guys don't remember, Australia's first ICO, and it's actually their CEO is Dr. Gemma Green, who is she was formerly with Goldman Sachs, if I am not mistaken.
Sounds right.
And she is actually a mayor of Perth, Australia, which Perth, I believe, also uses Power Ledger as well.
Yeah, that's a cool project. I remember we actually wrote an article on that, kind of doing a profile on them, and within like 2 days, it went up like 150%.
Yeah, so we wrote an article on it, and then we also did the chain of influence with them. So we'll actually link those both below in the podcast here. So that's pretty much all I have on the docket today, Billy. Were there any other little things that you wanted to talk about that we haven't covered?
Yeah, you know what? There's actually one last thing, and this is kind of just a speculation piece, but it is related to somewhat of a hot topic lately. Verge So they partnered up with MindGeek, and we talked about that in the last podcast. But now there's talk that they're trying to partner up with Spotify. And so I did some digging around. Yeah, so it's I started poking around a little bit, and it sounds like it's basically a community-focused suggestion. So, I didn't know this, but apparently Spotify has like this community portal that it's kind of like user voice, where you can go in and say, hey, you guys should do this. You guys should have this feature. And so somebody in the Verge community suggested that the rest of the community go in and start voting on this thought that Verge should be a currency that you can use on the Spotify platform to pay for that membership. There hasn't been any response from Spotify yet, but we all know that Verge has a pretty big community. So, that'll be interesting to watch and see what happens.
Okay, so this is news, but no news.
It's speculation. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know if I was Spotify, I'd be like, hold on, didn't you guys just partner with all these porno websites? Like,
well, you know what's funny? Well, they actually come out. They came right out and said, yeah, we're Verge, and we partnered up with all these porn companies. And as you know, porn's always on the cutting edge of technology. So they basically made that part of their argument, which was interesting, and not totally, crazy. I don't know. Thought it was interesting.
No, that is super interesting. If something like that happens, then that would, take it to the next level. But,
yeah, that'd be nuts.
But the problem is like, Pornhub and the other porn sites that, incorporated Verge, they're not using it for recurring payments though, because of the volatility with cryptocurrency. So, is that what they're saying is you should allow Verge to be used for your monthly bill or whatever on Spotify?
That's what it sounds like. It's not that detailed. Exactly how it's going to work. It just says to be used as a payment method. In my mind, I imagine it's just what it sounds like. It's that straightforward. It could be like gin, where you deposit a certain amount and they just deduct it daily as like a prorated amount.
Who is this guy, Pomp, on Twitter? The crypto capitalist hellbent on tokenizing the world.
Yeah, he's a finance guy, and he, I retweet a ton of his stuff. He's on, a lot of finance news stations.
If you guys are out there, follow Pomp. It's, let me see if I say his last name, A. Pompliano. That's Apompliano. He puts out some damn good news and constantly. Like, for instance, we were talking about Nasdaq there. Well, I totally forgot about this. The Winklevoss twins just partnered with them for Gemini to where partnered with Nasdaq to where Gemini is now going to use Nasdaq's market surveillance technology on their exchange. So that is the Winklevoss twins that bought back Gemini, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess what their whole thing is they're gearing up to be ready for the regulations and to take Gemini to the next level as soon as it's it's possible.
Yeah, and I'm just going to speculate a little bit. Gemini is going to be the one that launches the first Bitcoin ETF. Like they're playing it really smart, just like Ripple has, in terms of working kind of hand in hand with various regulators from day one. So counting down the days for that ETF, because once that ETF hits, we're actually going to go to the moon.
So I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and we'll look back at this podcast. We'll write this down and mark it.
All right.
You hit it pretty good when you said that the bottom for Bitcoin was going to be 6,500. Because it hit that 6,500 mark right around there, and then it started its move back upwards.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a ways out. December of this year. Let's just say, I don't know, let's pick an arbitrary date. Should we say December 1st or December 30th or 31st or whatever? I want to know what you think Bitcoin will be. Let's just say at the end of this year. What do you think it'll be at the end of this year?
Let's say by January 1st, 2019.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to be?
I think we're going to be at probably, this is just coming to me right now, I would say between 39 and 43,000.
You think so?
Yeah.
39 and 43. I mean, it's not really crazy because if you look at just what's happened in the last 2 weeks, it's gone from, 7K or something to almost 10K. I mean, it could move $5,000 in a day like it's nothing, once it starts moving.
Exactly. Like, it's not going to take that much to get there, right? Like, from where we are right now to get to an all-time high, it's right around 100%. Like, we did that in like a month,
Yeah,
a couple months ago.
after the CME was announced in December.
Yeah. So can
Yeah.
you imagine like
Futures.
this one announcement that has Nasdaq in the title or anything? One partnership, one,
Can I pull a Price is Right and say $1 here? So I have 1 to 39,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Bitcoin may or may not be worth anywhere between $1 and $85,000.
No, I'll go low. I'll say 25 to 30K is what my guess is.
Yeah,
By
and
January
that
1st.
seems to be the consensus across anybody that's ever been right about a price prediction. As far as Bitcoin's concerned, I mean, 25 is like, we're definitely going to see that. So, yeah, I think we'll see 30s for sure. I think 39 to 43 is a little bit aggressive, but I think we'll do it.
Well,
And it sounds crazy to say that, but crazier things have happened.
Well, that's our picks. One thing before we go, I think it's actually kind of funny that Ripple, maybe I'm taking this the wrong way, but I'm on Twitter right now and I'm looking. Ripple posted 8 minutes ago a question. Which of Ripple's solutions uses the digital asset XRP to solve for liquidity and cross-border payments? They're like asking these questions. So, I mean, well, it says we're about to start trivia. It was their first tweet. But in some ways, I take that as we got to educate you people who have no clue what you're talking about. Because,
Yeah.
but I almost take that as a negative in a way. I know they have this suite of products, but like, if you're having to ask people and having to educate people on this, then
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
maybe
I
you
guess
don't
for
position
me,
it in the right way. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think perhaps, I don't know, it might be a smart way of getting like a real feel of what's misunderstood about what they're doing. And they're trying to get a gauge in the market, understanding where that void is that they need to educate people. Because, I mean, in my opinion, one of the biggest issues right now is just education in general about crypto. What's good, what's bad. Because there's very little that you hear on the news about crypto. It's always the same kind of like, so-and-so crashed today, whatever spiked today, and that's it. There's never anything about anything technical or regulation-based, whatever, stuff that we actually see on a day-to-day basis. So I don't know. I think it might be smart.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, nothing against Ripple, and I actually like some of the stuff that they're doing, but I don't know. Those tweets. I also just saw in Kanye West's Twitter rant that he's been doing every single minute. One of his tweets was just decentralize.
Yeah. There's been a lot of people saying, you mean Bitcoin?
But actually, going back to what you were just saying there about the news, one thing that excites me all the time is you look at MSNBC, or CNBC rather, not MSNBC. No, don't watch Rachel Maddow. No, whatever. But CNBC, they always have that Bitcoin ticker up there now.
Yeah.
So,
oh man,
it's out there at the forefront.
You know what? On that same note, I just thought about this. Just remembered. I was in my car going to get dinner yesterday. I had the radio on, and it was some kind of advertisement about like payday loans or something. And they were kind of going through the reasons that you might need money, you might need a loan. And one of the reasons was, literally, they said this, to buy the Bitcoin dip. And I was like, holy shit.
What?
Like, shit just got real.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like, We're hitting mainstream, boy.
Do you have you on that topic, totally unrelated to crypto, but have you about payday loans? Have you watched the docu-series on Netflix? It's Dirty Money.
No, I haven't.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Let me make sure of that. Anyway, there's it's it's Dirty Money. Check out the episode on there. It's all about like one of them is about like Martin Shkreli that buys the prescription drug company and just all the things that he does. But on the payday loans one, there is one about the initial guy that founded payday loans. I'm trying to see what the episodes are. It's just called Payday. It's episode number 2. Should check this out. The guy's actually like in jail now or prison or whatever for some of the things that they did. But right in the start of the episode, like the first 10 minutes, he's like in his house, like riding on like a bike or whatever, or doing a workout routine, as they are like dragging his Ferraris like up a grass hill in his yard with like a tractor and stuff, and loading those off and confiscating them. So,
Wall Street.
Oh, dude, check it out. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty
Doing
crazy.
a commercial here.
nothing about crypto yet, but it's definitely worth checking out. But anyways, that's all I got for our podcast today. Go ahead, take us away, Billy.
It's been an exciting week. We've seen a couple people trickle into the Discord. I would love to see a few more start playing around with us, do some scalping, make some quick trades. And as always, open to feedback. What do you guys want to learn more about? What are we missing? What do we suck at? You want pictures of Chewy?
What does Billy suck at? Not what I suck at. What's Billy suck at?
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's all I have.
Cool.
Been a long day.
We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
Bye.